Hey guys, how much water should I carry on a backpacking trip? In this video, I'm going to explain to you some of the tips that I've used personally to determine how much water I should use on a backpacking trip. First of all, do your research. There's many ways to do research on a trail, especially today, as popular as backpacking is and as many trails get recorded on YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I say YouTube is a great source for researching a trip. If there's a particular trail, you could just type it in the search engine and then it'll pop up, and there probably is a slew of videos. And if there's one thing that backpackers like to communicate to other backpackers is where to camp and where's the water sources. So if you find a video on a trail that you like and there's no water sources mentioned in it, you could simply just leave a comment, ask the person. There's also apps that you can use. One is called Far Out. It used to be called Gut Hook. People leave markers in there where campsites are and where water sources are. Best place, or I wouldn't say the best place, but a good place to find. For me, I like to research the trails online. If there's people that has hiked the trails and leave long descriptions, that's another great way to research it. And most of the time they'll tell you where all the water sources are, and that's what I like to do. So first tip is do your research. Tip number 2 is determine how much water do you use or will you use. And this varies. But this is important to know how much water to carry on that trip. So if there's a lot of water sources and you don't have to do a lot of real heavy water carry, then you can determine how much you use. And another thing is, what are you cooking? Are you cooking backpacker meals? Most backpacker meals take 2 cups of water. So that's 2 cups in the afternoon when you get to camp. And if you've got a backpacker breakfast, that usually takes about 2 cups. So you're talking about 4 cups of water there. And then are you drinking coffee when you wake up in the morning, which is important to me. I always want to save enough water for coffee. If that means skipping breakfast because I ain't got enough water, I'm going to have enough water for my coffee to start my day off with. So how much water you're going to use determines what are your water sources. So it reflects back to research. For me, I'm a Kentucky boy. Most of my hiking is in, the Cumberland Plateau or the Appalachian Mountains. So there's a lot of water sources. So I haven't ever hiked in the desert where I got to carry all my water in and do big heavy water carries. So I have no experience on that. But for me, most of my trips, there's creeks, there's running water, there's springs, so there's plenty of places to get water. Now that leads to my next tip, water filtration. So if you have this right here, this allows you to not have to carry so much water, because if there is water sources, I can stop at a source, fill my dirty water bag, simply screw on my Sawyer squeeze, and then I could fill up my water container. Next point, water containers. What should I use to carry my water? This seems like a great idea. This is a nice water bottle. This is a Camelback water bottle, real nice, really nice. But for backpacking, it's not very practical. Why? Because it's heavy and it don't carry a lot of water. For me, I love smart water bottles. They are great. They're cheap and you can reuse these things. I've had this thing on multiple trips. This bottle is a big bottle. It carries 1.5 liters. Generally, I'm not needing to carry no more than 3 liters of water. I do like to sip on water and drink water continuously as I'm hiking, and then when I get to camp, I want to have enough water to cook my dinner, wake up, be able to cook my breakfast, and have a cup of coffee. That's my goal. And a lot of times, being able to do that depends really on where you're camping. If you're camping next to a water source, then you probably don't have to worry about cameling up before you get to camp. A lot of times I'm in the mountains and I like to camp high up on a ridge. High up on the ridge, there's not a lot of water sources, so I have to think ahead. Is this the last water source before I have to climb to get to the top of the ridge to my campsite? And so I want to stop, I want to camel up, I want to get plenty of water, I want to fill up I usually take 2 of these. It gives me 3 liters of water. I want to fill both these up before I start to make my climb up to my campsite. If I'm camping down low, close to a creek, next to a water source, then I don't worry about that as much. But number one, do your research. Determine where your water sources are, what time of year it is. Are the creeks flowing? Do the creeks have a potential to dry up during the time of year that you're planning your hike? All these things determine how much water you want to carry on the trail. And it's important because I have been caught on the trail before and not have enough water and have to bail out because I did not plan enough, I didn't do enough research, and it's not a fun feeling. I looked on a map, I seen all kinds of creeks running through the map. About 3 or 4 miles in, after I passed about 3 or 4 creeks, every one of them dried up. I realized I was in trouble. I was packing light, it was the summertime, and so I only carried 1.5 liters of water. And it was a 13-mile trail. Halfway in, I was out of water, nowhere to get water, and I had to bail out, get out on the highway, and just walk back to my car. So it's vitally important. If I was in a situation where I wasn't that close to the road, where I could bail out and walk a few miles down the road back to my car, I probably could have found myself in some serious trouble. So being able to determine how much water to carry on the trail is really important. It could mean the difference between life or death or a survival situation. And so for me, do your research, have the right containers, and have a water filtration device. Those are the best 3 tips that you can have when it comes to determining how much water I need to carry and what containers I need. Thank you guys.